Today we are going to study the transcription of the telephone conversation between Secretary of State Kissinger and the Soviet ambassador. So we are in Washington, July 15, 1974. The conversation is rather informal. We can see that Kissinger starts his point with Anatoly. So we understand that they know each other. We just got a message from Cyprus that your counselor asked the British High Commissioner how the British will feel about the introduction of Soviet troops to restore order. So for me, it's interesting to read the reaction of the ambassador because he mentioned troops. So he's surprised by the way Kissinger said, in fact, that I can't believe it, this. So it's interesting to imagine that at this level, none of them can believe it. So the Soviet ambassador is surprised. And by the way, he mentioned also that he has no information. He said explicitly, I have no telegram telling me this. I doubt that very much. So we have two guys at the highest level. They don't know anything about this idea. And the next point is from Kissinger. I can't believe he would do this. So the question is, what about the mission? See, your mission in Moscow, I mean in Moscow. So it's like a theater play because they knew a lot of things, but this detail seems to be unknown. So they are trying to catch information in a diplomatical way, but we can see that it is rather friendly. So my point, the blue one, we have nothing from Moscow and nothing from Cyprus, only that there is still fighting going on. Who was it? In fact, the ambassador is asking again about the same person. So Kissinger answered that it is in reality your second man in the embassy. So for the ambassador, it's very strange that the second man come to the British. That's why he said, to me, it sounds unbelievable. You're not surprised? Vicky, you're not surprised? Okay. So me too. If you planned something like this, you would talk to us. Yes. So it was a question, in fact, like a certification about the position of the ambassador. And Kissinger mentioned that we would not look on it with favor. So it means that it's clear that for US, this shouldn't be done. And the Russian answer is clear, I know. So some lines after, we see that Kissinger mentioned the latest report is that they are still fighting. So the Soviet question is, what about Lygeros? And for me, it's very interesting because this is a discussion, a conversation between US and SSSR, but the report, in fact, came from Israel. So I have a report from Israel. They say they heard him on the radio. This is true. This is correct. And by the way, the Russian guy knew it. I know, but nothing from your embassy. I will check with Moscow. I don't have anything at all. So the only information they have is from Israel, from the report. We know that is correct, and then try to discuss each other, in fact, to understand if the other one knows more things. I know but nothing from your embassy. That was a point very clear. For me, the other important point is from the Russian guy. I know this could come about only if Lygeros asked for it, and then it would have to be discussed. So the position is something like an intervention from the Soviet Union, but for them, it's impossible to imagine it, except, of course, if Lygeros asked for it. But if Lygeros is not there, we would not do it on our own, okay? So it's rather clear that from the Soviet ambassador, even if this scenario is possible, for them, it's impossible to do this thing without the acceptation from US. So it's a very strange information. And when we keep in mind the date of this conversation, all this thing is very, very strange. So this is not done at all. I doubt very much they do this on their own, okay? And that is my view. Okay, be in touch. So it was clear, nothing new, in fact, just a scenario. But for us, it's important to see that maybe history should have been different from this point of view. So another transcription. In fact, this is the continuation of the previous telephone conversation, same day, same person, and just 1 hour after. So the starting point is from the Soviet ambassador. Hello, Henry. The ambassador of Cyprus has just informed me that Lygeros is alive and in UN troops is in another place. In fact, we know that, so we can imagine at this level that this is related to the report of Israel, but also from the information of the British office and maybe some information from Malta. So I have seen that as an unofficial report. So it's very interesting because they are not totally sure about this information. But it's important because it's new. It's between the two phone calls. Huh? So now this is what he mentioned to me from the Soviet ambassador. I don't know if it is official. By the way, Kissinger just mentioned that I'm glad you called. I was just getting ready to call you. So there is good timing between them. I just had an unofficial report that is in the town called Fathers, I heard. And you see, always the same tactics. One mention something, the other answer that it's already known from him. And we have like a game of ping pong, okay? Well, we got the first letter the same. If that is true, it puts a new complexion on the situation because they thought that maybe it was another scenario. Well, the position of the Soviet ambassador is rather clear, and he says, the following thing, and it says he has asked the Secretary General to have Security Council tomorrow to discuss, and according to this information, the ambassador has in this area where Lygeros is, it is quite where the Archbishop is, but in Nicosia, there is strong fighting. So we know that is correct. This is what he mentioned to me. So there is like a coordination between the two superpowers. Let us see if we can keep our action coordinated. The United States has no unilateral interest there, and we support the existing constitution. So from 60, of course. Can we stay in touch with each other before we take any drastic moves? So it's very important because from Kissinger is an internal interest, but also an international interest. We know that he wanted to keep this at a low level, and we see now that there were discussions between Soviet Union and of course US, but now we have the proof. I will send a telegram saying let's coordinate our action. So it's just to be official, because remember that we are on a telephone conversation. And by the way, the answer of Kissinger can be mentioned in the telegram is that we are in favor of the existing constitutional arrangement. So for them, the problem is rather clear, even if they don't have any solution at that level. Let's check before doing anything. I will let you know if we plan anything. We don't plan to do anything until we get a report, but we have made those demarches I told you about. Okay, Henry. So you see, that's all, folks. They are in relation. They want to keep in touch about the problem. We are in July 15, so we know exactly what is going also in Nicosia. So the position for me is very important from the both of them, because they know many things. They want, of course, a coordination. And it's very important that we can understand that between them, I don't see any stake. In fact, nobody is lying at that level. So it's important for us to understand that nothing was planned. It was a surprise. And we know this also by another report from the CIA, that this date wasn't in the forecast of the intelligence service.